Welcome to the Dinar Daily. For years, a dedicated community of investors, patriots, and observers has watched the global financial horizon with unwavering patience, holding fast to the belief that a significant economic transformation is not only possible but inevitable. This journey has often been a solitary one, marked by the resilience of those who have weathered ridicule, skepticism, and the dismissive attitudes of critics who failed to see the potential for a resurgence in Iraq's financial standing. Through geopolitical turbulence, shifting market dynamics, and the quiet periods that often precede major events, this community has remained steadfast, preparing for a moment that many believed would eventually arrive. Now the atmosphere has perceptibly shifted, and the persistence of these long-term observers is meeting a wave of new energy, suggesting that what was once considered distant speculation is now presenting itself with a clarity and intensity that demands serious attention from anyone following the narrative of global currency reform. The conversation has evolved dramatically, moving away from the realm of mere rumor into a more structured discourse regarding what insiders are calling the activation of the second phase of the revaluation process. This shift in narrative signals a distinct change in the tempo of global financial discussions, particularly concerning the much-anticipated Tier 4B exchange window. The current discourse suggests that a 36-hour window has opened, a development that has raised anticipation to unprecedented levels among those who track these events. It is crucial to understand that within this framework, such a window is not viewed as a drill or a recycling of old information, but rather as a critical inflection point. This moment represents the culmination of years of accumulating signs, where the focus moves from passive waiting to active observation of a breakthrough that aligns with the broader restructuring of the international monetary system. To fully grasp the significance of these developments, one must look at the context of the last few years, during which the global financial system has undergone one of the most dynamic eras of technological and structural transformation in modern history. Central banks, international regulatory bodies, and major digital payment networks have been quietly but aggressively retooling the very foundations of monetary policy. Their goal has been to adapt to a rapidly changing landscape defined by the complexities of global trade, the rise of digital settlement systems, and a massive geopolitical realignment. While the average citizen may remain unaware of these technical adjustments, they are highly meaningful to financial institutions that are preparing for a new era of efficiency and security. This is not merely about one currency, but about a systemic upgrade that affects how value is moved and verified across borders. Nations spanning Asia, the Middle East, Europe, and the Americas have all been implementing their own versions of these modernization reforms, creating a synchronized global movement that is largely invisible to the public eye. These reforms are characterized by the widespread adoption of instant settlement networks, the expansion of asset-backed digital platforms, and the implementation of rigorous transparency requirements designed to prevent market manipulation and enhance systemic trust. Iraq has been a central figure in this narrative, steadily aligning itself with this global movement despite the challenges of its past. The country has been working tirelessly to restore its credibility, strengthen its monetary sovereignty, and modernize its banking infrastructure to meet international standards. The initiation of global revaluation activity is seen by analysts as a milestone within this much broader wave of reform, connecting Iraq's recovery to the health of the global economy. It is important to recognize that what makes this moment so significant is not the isolated action of a single nation, but the wide-reaching synchronization among multiple financial systems working toward improved stability. While interpretations of these events may vary across different investor communities, there is a wide agreement among analysts that the current phase of activity reflects a deeper global push toward improved liquidity mechanisms. The objective is a greater alignment of currency values with their real economic potential, particularly across emerging markets that have been historically undervalued. This push for alignment is driven by the need for a more equitable global trade environment, where currencies reflect the true assets and productivity of their respective nations rather than being artificially suppressed or inflated by outdated policies. The concept of tiers within global financial transition discussions often serves as a source of confusion for many newcomers to this topic. Yet the structure is rooted in standard practices used during large-scale monetary and regulatory rollouts. In the world of international finance, staged implementation models are essential. They allow central banks and their partner institutions to introduce reforms gradually, ensuring that stability is maintained throughout the entire system before opening the gates to the wider public. This methodological approach prevents the shock and volatility that could occur if such massive changes were implemented all at once. By understanding this tiered structure, one gains insight into the prudence and caution that governs high-level financial engineering. Higher tiers in this structural hierarchy typically include sovereign entities, major governments, and institutional players who act as the foundational architects of the new system. Subsequent stages then incorporate commercial banks, corporate participants, and eventually private individuals operating under structured frameworks. In the context of revaluation narratives, Tier 4B is commonly referenced as the phase involving pre-registered private holders who have prepared their documentation and are fully compliant with formal exchange protocols. While the specific requirements may vary depending on jurisdiction, regulators, and participating institutions, the general principle is that this phase involves individuals who have maintained a state of readiness to engage with the system immediately upon activation. What makes this phase particularly significant is not the speculative excitement that often surrounds it, but the fact that it represents a carefully timed component of a larger strategy of monetary engineering. The coordination of this tier ensures that liquidity enters the global system in a controlled, systematic fashion, rather than abruptly or chaotically. This tiered approach mirrors similar strategies used by central banks during currency redenominations, interest rate adjustments, or migrations to new digital platforms. It is a safeguard designed to maintain the integrity of the money supply and prevent inflationary spikes that could destabilize the very economy these reforms are meant to support. Understanding this structure helps clarify why certain events unfold in specific sequences rather than as sudden, all-at-once changes. It reflects the principle of systemic integrity that guides global financial operations. During periods of major financial system recalibration, it is common practice for central banks, digital clearing houses, and regulatory authorities to operate within restricted, highly structured activation windows. These windows provide the necessary time and space for technical teams to synchronize databases, verify internal ledgers, coordinate rate adjustments, and ensure that all participating institutions are perfectly aligned before broader, public operations are allowed to resume. The current narrative surrounding a 36-hour transition window, which many associate with the progression of global revaluation activity, exemplifies this meticulous approach to liquidity management. Such windows are not designed to be public announcements or marketing events. Rather, they are quietly executed technical intervals during which high-level financial infrastructure undergoes rigorous validation. By operating under strict time constraints, regulators can ensure that any adjustments to settlement protocols, rate synchronization, or international cross-border systems are implemented in a clean, traceable, and secure manner. This practice is particularly critical in our modern era, where digital settlement systems operate at near-instant speeds and require precise calibration to avoid technical imbalances. For observers and analysts who have been following these developments closely, The existence of such a window signals heightened coordination and rapid-fire communication among financial hubs worldwide. It is crucial to interpret this not as a consumer-facing event designed for retail banking, but as a reflection of the increased sophistication and security requirements of modern financial architecture. In essence, it serves as a technical marker of ongoing infrastructure alignment, highlighting the complexity and precision required to manage today's global monetary ecosystem. It is a sign that the machinery of global finance is turning. Even if the gears are not yet fully visible to the general public, central banks across the globe have entered an accelerated phase of modernization, driven by the rising demand for instantaneous financial transactions, enhanced compliance mechanisms, and digital infrastructure capable of interfacing with new economic technologies. This trend is visible in the Middle East, Asia, Europe, and North America, where upgrades often include the development of cross-border settlement networks, the expansion of digital identity verification systems, and the integration of blockchain-inspired architectures into existing banking frameworks. These technologies are no longer theoretical. They are being actively deployed to create a faster, cheaper, and more transparent way of moving value around the world. Iraq's own modernization efforts are a direct reflection of this worldwide shift. Over the past several years, the Central Bank of Iraq has introduced a series of comprehensive reforms designed to strengthen financial governance, improve liquidity monitoring, and align the country with international standards. These initiatives include upgrading electronic payment systems, strictly integrating with anti-money laundering protocols, and enhancing transparency across both the public and private banking sectors. While such efforts may appear purely technical to the layperson, they collectively represent a massive leap forward for Iraq's economic posture and its credibility within the global marketplace, setting the stage for future growth. Economists have noted that this ongoing modernization in Iraq mirrors a larger transformation occurring in many developing and resource-rich nations. These countries are seeking to leverage digital infrastructure to support economic stability and attract foreign investment. The movement toward asset-backed accounting models and digital settlement systems is part of a broader effort to ensure that the next era of global finance is built on verifiable, secure, and efficiently managed value representation. This shift aims to reduce reliance on purely debt-based systems and return to a model where currency value is underpinned by tangible assets and economic productivity. What we are witnessing today is not an isolated story about the Iraqi dinar, but one chapter in a global shift toward a more interconnected and technologically fortified financial landscape. One of the most compelling aspects of the current moment is the high level of multinational coordination unfolding across financial institutions, regulatory bodies, and digital asset networks. The past decade has revealed a steady push toward harmonizing compliance standards, validating reserve structures, and building systems capable of interfacing seamlessly across borders. This interoperability is key to a functioning global economy where trade barriers are reduced and financial friction is minimized. In Asia, central banks have implemented blockchain-compatible digital ledger systems to improve the tracking of liquidity and cross-border transactions. In the Middle East, financial authorities have deployed asset verification frameworks tied to energy and commodity reserves. Meanwhile, in Europe and North America, monetary institutions have adopted strict transparency guidelines and accelerated the integration of instant settlement platforms. These developments collectively signal a global shift away from opaque, purely fiat-based valuation models and toward a hybrid structure involving asset-linked, technologically enhanced monetary ecosystems. Such profound changes do not occur overnight, nor do they conform to the narratives often circulated among speculative groups that promise instant riches. Instead, They emerge through deliberate cooperation, multi-year planning, and the disciplined rollout of new settlement technologies. The move toward measurable value representation, particularly through asset-backed frameworks, reflects a growing global demand for stability, accountability, and cross-system compatibility. As nations continue to integrate these systems, the global monetary order is gradually transforming into one that prioritizes transparency, interoperability, and economic resilience. This moment, often romanticized in various investor communities, is in reality a chapter in a much larger, highly coordinated international evolution that will continue shaping the future of finance for decades to come. For many years, investors who carefully study large-scale financial transformation have understood that meaningful global change almost never arrives with the fanfare or suddenness imagined by rumor-driven narratives. Instead, it unfolds through a quiet series of technical steps: system testing, regulatory calibration, cross-border verification, and policy harmonization. It is a process of evolution, not revolution. In the context of this narrative, the activation of a new phase within a broader monetary transition represents the culmination of years of groundwork that has taken place behind the scenes. Investors who pay attention to macroeconomic trends recognize that these phases do not emerge spontaneously. They are designed, tested, refined, and implemented with meticulous precision so that global markets remain stable. Experienced analysts caution against becoming consumed by speculative expectations, especially those that promise instant wealth. They emphasize that the purpose of any reform is long-term systemic stability, and that transparency and regulatory compliance are the essential principles that allow participants to navigate periods of economic transition responsibly. Those who approach this process with curiosity and discipline, rather than urgency or emotional reaction, are ultimately in the strongest position to understand what comes next. Knowledge, not speculation, remains the most reliable tool for interpreting major monetary developments. Within this global scenario, people following developments related to currencies such as the Iraqi dinar are encouraged to adopt a mindset grounded in observation rather than haste. While community discussions frequently reference structured tiers and time-sensitive windows, it is vital to remember that legitimate monetary reform is always communicated through official channels. Recognized institutions such as the Central Bank of Iraq, the International Monetary Fund, or the U.S. Treasury provide updates through their public press releases and verified platforms. Therefore, in analyzing this landscape, investors are reminded that anything appearing in unofficial chat rooms or unverified networks should be viewed as speculation rather than evidence. What matters more is the ability to distinguish between entertainment, creative exploration, and authoritative information. Maintaining balance and clarity of thought ensures that people do not become swept up in narratives that feel urgent but lack institutional grounding. Just as global financial systems move slowly, carefully, and deliberately, so too should observers pace their expectations. The purpose of following such a storyline is not to chase empty promises, but to learn how large-scale economic frameworks operate and how they might evolve in a technologically integrated future. The themes of technology, transparency, and trust are central to this evolution. The global financial system is undergoing a digital revolution that mirrors real-world technological trends such as distributed ledger technology and blockchain-inspired architectures. These innovations bring unprecedented levels of transparency, enabling every transaction, settlement, and audit trail to be verified with a reliability that was impossible under traditional systems. The expansion of digital infrastructure strengthens institutional trust, reduces opportunities for corruption, and enhances investor confidence. Digital architectures make it possible to align currency valuation with measurable economic productivity, resource output, and trade performance. This creates a more stable foundation for incremental revaluations or recalibrations, should a nation decide to embark on such a path. Sustainable monetary value must reflect a nation's real assets and real output. These transitions are long-term, methodical, and built on years of technological integration. Meaningful transformation is always a process of gradual construction rather than sudden upheaval. Finally, whenever scenarios involving major financial shifts are discussed, a common side effect is the rapid spread of misinformation. Social platforms and emotionally charged communities can easily amplify speculative claims that diverge dramatically from institutional fact. This is why readers and viewers are encouraged to adopt a grounded and measured approach. The most responsible path includes consulting licensed financial professionals, verifying all information directly from official banking authorities, and resisting any narrative that guarantees returns. Grounded thinking transforms uncertainty into insight, allowing observers to appreciate the unfolding narrative of global financial reform without being swept into unrealistic expectations. The focus should remain on education, understanding the mechanics of the new economy, and watching the official steps taken by sovereign nations to secure their financial future.